So let me see, what was I thinking about? Oh yeah, I was kind of thinking in my head was like what I'm doing. I want to do it, so I know it's good to do, but I don't know if I need to change the routine or anything of that sort, because I want to be productive, but I also, like everything else, maybe I'm worried about, am I procrastinating or putting stuff off? Because if I'm going to wait till the year to start, it seems kind of cliche, and maybe it's okay to be cliche, but I figure it'd be like good practice to get going into something like this. It's just, it's almost like looking for a sign, like I'm gonna do it on this, and this date, whereas it's like, sure, but why not just do it now? Because time is short and you never know. So it's I guess a balancing act about how I would think about things. And one would say, well, at the very least you're doing something about it, but then on the other hand, it's like, I know I need to do more, and I know what I need to do more. So it's always like a balancing act with my conscious or inner drive to be doing what I'm supposed to be doing, which really is there really is such thing as that? I mean, it's always changing. That one time I thought I'd be doing one thing, but then it changed into another, so it's kind of hard to pinpoint what's the right thing to do or what the proper thing to do is at each time. I guess maybe the proper thing is whatever works and the most successful or something of the sort, but I don't know if that's right or not, because I haven't found that quite yet for me. Because I think some bits of it are like, the more successful you get, the more motivation you get, and then it just feeds off of itself. Well, without that initial drive, I think it's kind of like the chicken and egg problem, where you have to sort of create your own egg because the chicken doesn't exist, and that's the hardest part, I think, just getting that down, because everything else, once you do get somewhere, it's easier, or at least I think it's easier. I have no proof, so I'm just taking it as I go too. It's very existential. I think I recorded a video earlier which I didn't upload. It was kind of me walking around Green Lake when I was a lot more shy and I was just being existential, which I had to drop it because at that point it just wasn't anything but a moody video, and it's a bad foot to get off onto if I expect to be like hopping around. I mean, negative emotions are strong and people gravitate to stuff that's very strong, but I kind of want to do things in not overtly malicious way or something negative. Maybe there's a borderline between a gray area where it's like ridiculous and it's not like so strong, not so strong of a thing going on, because we all want to like do something, I suppose, that isn't crazy, but it's also like crazy, if you get what I mean, like not insanely ridiculous, but still kind of fun, because I think people like to push the borders when they're so caught up in authority and different roles of like, this is how X, Y, and Z should act, or this is how normal people act. Well, it's not always the most entertaining thing, because if you just want to see how normal people act, you'll just do your normal things. It's kind of a window not into a foreign world, but into kind of a foreign mindset, which I think is interesting, because not only you're picking off parts of people's minds and how they think, but you're also getting a larger look into just human nature, because I think sometimes things are so fast and people are so on the routine, they don't really think about other things than just day in and day out, which I understand. I mean, I'm like that too sometimes. For the longest period, I didn't like upload for, I want to say maybe three years, just because I got caught up in the daily grind, and I'd say like, oh well, I'll put it off a little bit longer. So that was kind of the topic of this, that it's kind of am I still at that point where I'm kind of procrastinating? Even though I'm going now, I'm justifying it because I'm starting a routine, and the routine's the most important part. So I guess I'm sort of doing the work, but then again, it's kind of like, is there a faster pace? Should I go faster? Should I not? Do I have to acclimate myself to what I'm doing? I don't know. I think that's the hardest part, because no one can tell you, and there's no like blueprint or book to say what is the right or the wrong. It's just, I guess we all do our own journeys, and I think anything creative, there's a lot of leeway for things to be different, and different isn't bad. I don't think. It's just, I find that it's just the point where I'm at right now in my life. I have to figure out exactly what the priorities are and what isn't, which right now I'm hedging my bets and betting on this, hedging by kind of like marginalizing the risk, but this is kind of what I'm betting on, which, I mean, it's impractical, but I think it's also practical considering how fast the city's growing, that I kind of have to. So for the most part, I don't think I should change procedure. I'm gonna keep going till December, maybe because I'm afraid I want to wait till the beginning of next year, but that's hard to say for now. I think at least 2 months of just static, getting used to the idea of like emptying my mind in public is gonna be the deal I'm gonna have to do, and I think that's about that. Not kind of like keystones that, and it's just that idea, because if I like wrote it down at home and just carefully annotated it, then I could probably go on for a lot longer. But just walking around and off the top of my head, that's pretty much what I'm thinking as of. Oh yeah, for the longest time, this is kind of goes to the procrastinating. I didn't really want to use any other camera unless I had like a totally flip out screen so I could see myself, because I assumed that's what selfie things were about. But then I realized that I could do selfie video without having to like monitor myself, because if the auto settings are good enough, then it doesn't matter. It shouldn't matter, because I'll be too busy doing other things to be thinking about the small setup and whatnot. It's not particularly about cinematics or just getting the most beautiful shot. It's just about getting used to the procedure, because anyone can take really good pictures or video, but I'm not gonna have all that like equipment and all the high bit rates just to like put out really grainless video just because to do it. I want to be more about just getting my personality used to being outside. Well, my voice hasn't given out yet. It's a good thing, because it'd be really boring if I was just like staring at the camera in dead air. Kind of goes with the situation. If I'm gonna do this kind of thing, I have to talk. So I like it, but it's also started. I prefer to be around people when I talk now, just because it's still new and it feed off of it. I like the interaction the most when people are interacting. I know it's still very early, but I like that idea. Although it does feel still awkward when people are cursing. That's a part of, I guess, doing this kind of thing with people who watch. You kind of have to filter out whatever parts you don't want them to see. So I'm sure I'll get to that point where I have to filter out censoring. As an audience, it's like, don't filter it out. But as like a creator, it kind of feels like this is awkward to keep in. I have to filter it out. So it's more of a perfect world than what is in front of. It's not 100% reality, but I think it's the same thing with my feelings on, like, I didn't like reality TV at first because it was so controlled, and I thought, oh, it should be just 100% reality. But then I realized that as I'm doing this, some elements of reality are either boring or they seem like they're not quite right at the time. Not inappropriate, but just like awkward, and not a good awkward either. No, very static awkward. So I understand now why people would sort of delete or edit videos to sort of streamline them. Sun's not totally out, but still feels pretty warm. I think I'm halfway through the pathway to get up to Capitol Hill. Yeah, it's hard to keep track. There's a bunch of different hills in Seattle, so does that do it? But I've always liked to walk around this area too, so it's kind of old hat to me just walk around here and recording. Although Seattle has a lot of hills, so you know, it's exercise, not for the faint of heart, I suppose. For now, cut it off. I think I've shared enough of my mind for now. Right.